The 70Mai A800S is one of the least expensive real 4K dash cams on the market today. Emphasis on real 4K because it's possible to buy a camera that advertises 4K and then presents this. Yeah, that's great. 70Mai, on the other hand, pretty dang good video quality for the price. But as with any budget product, looking closer there are a few more details to the picture that makes 70Mai a little bit harder to recommend. Today, let's go over the A800S, talk about where it shines, and the few little things that may warrant looking elsewhere. I picked up the dual channel system, which comes in at $132 including a 1080p rear camera. The build quality of the entire kit is really good for the price. It's all quite solid feeling with smoothly rotating lenses and buttons that have a little bit of a click to them. Setup is very straightforward thanks to the super large screen. As well, the user interface is pretty easy to understand. All the buttons are clearly laid out with on-screen controls, which makes it very easy to navigate. If it feels like I'm glazing over this section really fast, I am, because it just worked and there's not really much to say about it. Everything here was as expected. You've also got a basic parking mode, but unless you spend a little bit extra on the hardwire kit, you're not going to be able to use that. Plus, it's kind of sunny out and I want to go for a drive, so let's go check out video quality. No, wait, I lied. It's currently half raining, half snowing, and like 9 p.m. at night. This is the kind of footage you want to see. Anyways, let's look at some sunny footage to start. And here we go with some sunny daytime footage at 4K 30 frames per second. And one of the first things I notice is that my camera is slightly out of focus. Or perhaps not out of focus, but just focused very close to my vehicle. Hey, future Dreki, just chiming in here. As I was finalizing this edit, I watched the video a little bit closer and I came to the conclusion that the camera's not exactly out of focus, but it seems to focus shift a little bit when it gets hot. I made this big segment talking about how it's a little bit blurry, everything's a little bit soft, but just keep in mind that that tends to be in direct sunlight on a warm day. In the review, you'll see plenty of clips from this camera where it's overcast and things look great, and then the odd clip here and there in the sunlight where it just looks terrible. So just, your mileage may vary. It seems to be a lens quality issue less than a focus quality issue. If you bought the camera from Amazon or something domestic with a good return policy, then yeah, okay, out of focus, send it back to Amazon, get another one, and hope for the best. But you see, I bought my camera from AliExpress. And the camera works. I probably could have gotten away with lying to AliExpress and saying that it just was DOA, but 70Mai basically said, yeah, it's good enough. And it's true, I am pixel peeping and being a bit nitpicky here, but I've heard horror stories from other customers trying to get refunds from 70Mai support when they've shipped from their overseas warehouse, and needless to say, that's an experience I don't want to have. The price of a budget camera is that when it works, perfect. But typically everything else like customer support is lacking, and that's what I've seen from 70Mai in the past. Yeah, it is alright. The video quality is fine, I guess. It's just that this real 4K sensor has been let down by poor focus and a cheap lens. At the very least, it still does a substantially better job of recording than my old 1080p camera, the Viofo A129 Duo. But if you think, oh, that's it, that's the most you can nitpick, oh, you're wrong. There are two more things I want to mention now. First off, I find the video is a little bit too bright. There are times when I was just driving along, it's an ordinary sunny day, and the license plates are washed out, and the color is washed out. And this last little point here kind of rounds out the first two in that, especially on bright days into direct sunlight, things really don't look sharp. This seems to be a result of excessive motion blur, perhaps because the camera is operating at a lower frame speed, and also perhaps because distant things are out of focus. Even compared to the less expensive 70Mai A500S Pro Plus Plus, yeah, that's literally what it says on the product page, the more expensive and higher resolution A800S struggles to capture and freeze details like license plates of oncoming traffic. Stay tuned for the full comparison review coming up probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Subscribe for that. Night and low light is actually pretty good, and although the front-facing camera is not the brightest, when I'm stopped at streetlights I can see street signs as well as some license plates. That's honestly about the most you can ask for with any dash cam, so yeah, it gets the job done. Rightio, this is an audio sample from the 70Mai Dashcam. Going approximately 84 kilometers per hour according to my car's dashboard, and we're driving across the Alex Razor Bridge. It's a little bit late at night, so kind of dark out. I haven't seen night footage yet, so I have no idea what this is going to look or sound like, but nonetheless, I figured that this would be a good time to do the audio sample so you get a little bit of night footage as well as the sound of my voice. Well, I guess you've been hearing my voice the whole time, considering that this is narrated, but you know, that's beside the point. Now, what about that 1080p rear camera? During the daytime? Yeah, it's fine. During the nighttime? Yeah, it's not very good in low light. There's definitely not really anything special about this camera, and overall video quality is on the weaker side, especially compared to the front-facing camera. On a bright sunny day like this, colors are a little bit yellow, although the exposure is on point. License plates aren't exactly readable until the car gets a little bit too close for comfort. Under most circumstances with the rear camera, I would not expect to be able to read license plates, and I'd really consider it a secondary camera to the main forward-facing unit. More like an additional assurance that you'll see the driver, you'll see the make and model of the car, but fine details may be missed. In the pitch black, details get softened and license plates become illegible. At first, I thought this was just because my rear windshield was a little bit dirty, but it turns out even after cleaning it off and making sure my car had gone through the full defrost cycle, the rear camera is more there for a supplement than being a reliable source of detailed information. In terms of the app, everything worked fine. The camera connected by Wi-Fi and was remotely accessible with live view. As well, I could change all the settings on the phone. My recommended settings for this camera are to leave it at 4K 30, as well turn the impact detection to low. On medium or high, if your roads are even a little bit bumpy, like sometimes going over speed bumps in the neighborhood, this camera will lock the footage and it kind of gets annoying fast. And finally, the last thing that we have to mention, the last big lithium-ion elephant in the room, the battery. This camera uses an internal lithium-ion battery instead of a capacitor. Now, don't get me wrong, some major brands like Nextbase also use an internal battery, but for the most part, in terms of high-end dash cams, for reliability in hot and cold weather, we've been seeing more and more camera makers use capacitors. If you live somewhere with a relatively mild climate like most of the United Kingdom, as well as, I don't know, Seattle, I don't think that having a battery will be a problem. But if you live somewhere like Phoenix, Arizona, this camera is probably not for you. Reportedly, replacement batteries are fairly easy to acquire off of AliExpress, but now you need the skills to take open the camera, and it just becomes its own headache in itself. So combining the battery with 70Mai's lackluster customer service, I'd give this dash camera a pass. If you're looking at single channel options in the $100 range, the Viofo A119 V3 is the way to go. Yeah, it's not real 4K, but it does have a built-in supercapacitor, and I've been running one for over 5 years now. For real, legit, it's in my parents' car, and they use their car almost every day. Now, that might be anecdotal and a single use case of a product exceeding its lifespan, but on the other hand, for the most part, Viofo has been the go-to brand for budget dash cams, and I hear mostly positive feedback. As for cheap dual cams, well, there are just a ton of them on Amazon, and we're gonna try some of them. So if you want me to review any specific camera, let me know in the comments below. As well, like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.